There you go. 10 toes in.
Well, you know, I got here early to do this part. I did this part before we left.
Oh, you did?
Before I got there. Yeah.
Proactive, Bubba. Yeah. I was literally driving over here going, holy shit, when are we going to start the show?
No, man.
Oh, wonderful.
It's funny. Anna's always saying I'm always hiding my face, but really I be wanting my shirt to show. You know,
you're hiding your face in favor of your shirt. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Well, yeah, I always got.
Yeah, I'm just trying to suck in my gut. Yeah.
I always got something going on with the shirt. I hope you want people to see.
That's right. I got something going on with my shirt today.
Oh, what's that?
Mbappe scored a goal today for PSG.
That's a common occurrence, isn't it?
It is, but 13 goals in 13 games this year. But
oh, yikes.
Yeah, but now he got the route started here today against AC Milan.
I don't see it yet. Do you see it?
I see it.
Oh.
I see myself. Star that I am.
Let me get this thing locked and loaded here. Where is I know what I'm gonna start doing. They changed the YouTube face. My app is different now.
Yes.
So, okay. So.
Wait. What did I just do?
I almost feel like an old man every time I click on it now because I never know how.
Fumbling around. Hey, what's going on?
Yeah. YouTube, you gotta let us know when you're gonna
make some changes.
Yeah, man. All right, let's get this thing started.
This is the age of Aquarius. Expand all your areas. Don't need no savior to carry us. True independence is area. Knowledge itself and imperative. Why you speaking in parables? Life is a variable. I am a variant. I am divergent to versions of variance. I am adverse to the purpose of knowledge. It's my talent and I balance it. Saw the sun on my spirit. It is under new management. Under the sea like a free diver. When I freestyle my dish is immaculate. I am a true to the galaxy. I am what Yoni embellish me. I am the fact and the fallacy. I am what matters is mastery. I am your grandmama's mac and cheese. I am what dragons be. I am the raw little real. You right into reality. Still, writing computer amity. Lyrical caliber. Shit in the barrel. Now sorry to get wet cause my mind is on error time. I am Mr. Miyagi melanated. Mixing music with movements for meditation. Major movements for Mulan. Until we make it, gotta keep it weighted. Hey, love, one, Jason, here's up. Let them know what I turned them in. Hey, and that's Whitey, Jay. Look, they ain't like that I was recording my verses, so. Wait, look. The funny thing is, I wasn't even supposed to be in the tournament. I'ma show them what happened when rappers just say they the best, they don't want to work for it. I've been reaching new heights and just shaking the game and feel like I'm going through turbulence. If you ain't heard the name, tell them search for it. Or I expect they believe every word of it. So it ain't no need for a fact check. Watch me collect way more than a rap check. I'ma also need all the respect till they call me back. Not the one that you call for a pet. I'm talking about a veteran. Because I got that dog in me, that's for anyone thinking me better than it. Clean cut on the heels cause I'm severing. Not no cut on off like a severance. I be healing the game with some medicine. You be still in the game and that's evident. I consider a copy a compliment. I get credit on all your accomplishments. This music I look at, I did it, I read it, it be in my lungs like oxygen. Ever since I could remember, I was grabbing my collar and popping it. I be so on top of my game to the point where ain't nobody topping it. I see no one in my lane when I throw it, but shining no flicking it. I just slide on in and people feel like I just my man. If I'm going hard, you're the opposite. You know who the audience rocking with. It's my seat.
Yeah, right, come here. Right, come here. Right. They say, Bug, why you always in the ski mask, nigga? You don't live where it's snow. Right, I said just in case shit gets sour, I still be prepared for the smoke. From underwater, it's embarrassing to flow, nigga. From underwater, shit be buried in the boat, nigga. These boys hold Tyler Perry to the toes, nigga. This red meat, knock cherries out of bowl, nigga. I'm keen to cherry and moat, nigga. Saltfish with curry on the goat, nigga. And I don't look like embarrassing the broke, nigga. The front porch and streets, cause the flow different. I whip in like Indiana Jones, nigga. 5% you can't tell if it's sold in it. And I can't rent it cause way too many poles minute. I step back, saw Mary in the stroke, nigga. Alright, cool, shot, give me but alright. It's all butter, but it's all white. Gun girl like exhaust pipes. Beat your ass like the Dark Knight. A lifeline, get your car swipe. I'm baby boom, Mr. Put another rack on the dog fight. I'm the skinny Rick Roll type. Nigga, this takes pieces, it's not all spice. If you gon' copy the kitchen, you get the sauce right. Nigga, if you ain't tryna get your ass beat, don't put your hands on my partners. Handle the problem like family problem. Shoot till I crap, I got gambling problems. My side hoes say they panic been robbing. I don't need nothing but a sandwich and noggin. They don't make medium rare at McDonald's. My ghetto treat me like Eric and Compton. Come here.
How much defense? Oh, defensively is the thing.
That's the big
Well, not even really.
First, I put my man down. Then I potato head in the White House hash brown. It's all in my mouth, just like a class round. I got a head in the whole mouth. I'm in the two-color coleslaw. She's sucking me. I'm the whole crowd. Blood in his mouth. Shut up. I got that nose and I got the pumpkin pies. If you try to kick the dope, fuck the fire. They be saying that pussy like a pussy. I put on my mouth because I jump inside. I ain't graduated from because I'm Hartford. But I'm jumping out the big plate, back with the Foxford. Take the 7-Eleven, big go for the Foxford. Riding in the passenger with me. It's my Foxford.
The Gold Club bus in Atlanta.
That's for sure. Welcome back. You guys are back on the bench on the Bench Podcast with Bubba and Pink on my sports, music, and mayhem. All right. Shout out to Veronica. She helped inspire that.
She
Veronica
did?
there. Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah. I can't forget about the ones who helped us, man. Just Black, Veronica.
There we go.
We listen to ideas on the show. We're not idiots.
We're not closed off.
No, we're not closed off here, man. Appreciate it.
Open-minded.
Appreciate you guys. Speaking of, we got quite a few things, interesting things to talk about to you guys today, as always. Of course, Dwight Howard. Last night was the, and tonight, I mean, we got some NBA. NBA is back. All right, and you know, got Anthony Davis up to old things, and so is Nikola Jokic. We got some Deion Sanders stuff, some NFL stuff that I thought was very interesting. I think you guys are going to start hearing about this a lot, and then we're going to check in, man. Every once in a while, we're going to check in with the Florida State Seminoles, who continue their undefeated dominance. The Florida Gators, who continue their average play. And the Miami Hurricanes there. So we'll check in there too, later on in the show.
I have some thoughts on all three teams, really.
All right. I have thoughts on 2 of the 3.
Who do you not have thoughts on?
The Hurricanes.
Okay.
I've only seen them play once this year, but
I'm more than I care to.
I'll be locked in when they play Florida State for sure.
Okay.
Hopefully
they'll be locked out in the end zone.
I want you to stay with me here, all right? Because this is going to be a long-winded beginning.
I've been here for years. Not to leave now.
Of course, I'm thinking, right? So,
Of course.
I'm always thinking.
Day doesn't go by without you thinking.
This is not a church topic, but this is where it's going to start. All right? So of course, I grew up, not of course, but I grew up heavy in the church. We're talking 5-6 days out of the week. All right.
Wait, time out. Hold on. You were at the church 5 or 6 days a week?
Every week. Yeah. Out of the week, every single week.
What the hell's going on there?
Monday, you have prayer night and deacons meeting. Tuesday is Bible study. Wednesday is choir rehearsal. Okay.
You were in the choir?
Yeah.
Did you ever get a solo? Oh, come on, man. Did you bring the song home, Dad?
No, man. Thursday is optional prayer night. Friday, you're off.
I guess you exercise that off.
I haven't had enough. Saturday, I cut the church yard and did the yard. If it wasn't time to mow the yard, you had to do flowers and all that type of stuff. And then Sunday, you're there 2 or 3 times out the day. You got early morning service. Then you have a Sunday morning service. Then you have the regular service.
You had to go back for those?
Yeah. And then
one wasn't enough.
And then once a month you have communion. So there's times where you could be there 4 times. Oh man, thank you.
I fixed it.
All right.
Thank you, Aunt.
Wow.
My shit's a little behind.
Okay.
No, that's good. That's good. We have fixed the duplicate issue.
Good.
All right. Shout out to Aunt, man. That's what he watches.
I think the duplicate issue might have been intentional with regard to your church activities. Wanted to bring back the flashbacks. Dude,
right.
how are you not an atheist with all that church?
Well, and that leads to the point where I'm not attending church as I don't go to church now.
All right, good.
That's not good. I'm not saying.
Yes, it is.
I'm not a converted atheist.
You
or
gave
anything.
enough.
I gave enough.
6-7 days a week. I mean,
God,
extrapolate that over to Sundays. You probably got about another 2 decades in the church bank.
But during my time in church, of course, I learned quite a few stories, and one thing about the Bible is whether you read it or not, believe it or not, whatever the case may be, there's a lot of good parables and stories inside of the Bible. So I'm gonna take you guys to the very first one, which is Adam and Eve. All right, now, again, whether you believe in it or not, this is interesting, and it is integral to the story I'm telling here. Right?
Okay.
So you got Adam and Eve here, and these are the only 2 people on planet Earth. Like if you're the only 2 people in the city of Winter Park, that's like crazy and weird, right? But on the planet Earth, you have 2 people, and these people, they have no idea. They're just living for hundreds of years. They're just living and existing. They don't know anything is wrong. They don't know that they're naked. They don't know that. For real, they don't know what they don't know, right?
Right.
Until the Apple thing happens and everything like that, and you can, take from that what you want.
And
right?
who's at fault for that?
Listen,
Eve,
that's not the point.
not Steve.
I'm not going.
It
there.
was Eve.
It wasn't Steve.
She brought about the downfall.
And just to talk about the innocence there from those people, and
Those 2 people.
and and I was with close group of kids, and what was weird was like they had no idea like that their life is like fucked. You know what I mean? Like
Adam and Eve?
No, these kids that I was around, that I was just with recently, and all they know is play, candy, cakes, whatever. And
these are
point
actual
is,
kids?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The parallel to the stories are their innocence is so high that they just don't know what they don't know. They have no idea that like their life is in shambles and fucked right now. Like everything else that's going around them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you just want to do whatever you possibly can to help that situation because it's because the kids are so innocent, you know what I mean? To that degree. And I don't know, it made me think of the Adam and Eve thing just from the innocence part of you just don't know, what you don't know. When I was a kid growing up, I really didn't know something was wrong with my family and what in my household till I got to ninth grade center. And I met John Pacavage and those guys. Until then, because even going to Maitland Middle, I went to Hungerford, it was just right in the heart of Edenville. Every kid that's going there, everybody's poor, everybody's fucked. Okay, and then even going to Maitland, it was almost like segregated. It was it was white kids, black kids, Spanish kids, whatever. But all the Edenville kids are riding on these 2 buses into Maitland. We all hang with each other, eat with each other. It's like it really was almost segregated.
Yeah.
It wasn't until getting to Winter Park where. I was like, oh, I'm supposed to have things and I'm supposed to experience and do things. I thought Disney was just on a movie. You know what I mean? I could actually maybe I was supposed to have gone to this place already.
Right.
By the ripe age of 15. And and you don't know until you know. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just
that is interesting because there is, the innocence of the child, and it's kind of refreshing to be around little kids sometimes because you'll see how they observe something and process it, and it comes from that innocent, not knowing any better place, and it can be refreshing to you to be around them going through that process. But you also enter that dynamic of you're supposed to fill kids with confidence and positive experience and this and that, but there's a part where like this life is rough.
Yeah.
And like, and they're going to have to be prepared for that. And like, how do you address that preparation element? Do you start introducing adversity like when they're little, or do you just kind of like keep everything sunflowers and roses until all of a sudden it hits them in the face like a brick?
Exactly.
It is a challenge, man. It really is, as far as that goes. But I mean, as an adult, it can be refreshing to put yourself in the company of a child and kind of like watch how they process the world and the things that they look at and what they take out of it, because like we all become cynical as we kind of go through this process. But you look at them and you're like, they seem happy, their day's pretty simple, and you're like, man, hang on to this.
Hang on to this, man.
It's not going to stay this way forever. Let me assure you.
No, it's just not, man. It's just not. And it's funny also talking to my older nieces and nephews as they're entering like the adulthood, 18, 19 or whatever. And it's like, we tried to tell you guys fucking years, man. But good luck now,
I mean, in that vein, it's like a super tough position to be in is when like you're a parent, and your kids are becoming like adults, and a lot of the like really negative, inescapable aspects of life kind of come raining down on them. And like you said, we tried to tell you about this, but it's like they're telling you something that like they've experienced that's just negative. There's really no positive to it. And in your mind, you're like, how do I respond to this? Like, do I tell you the truth and basically be like, 95% of this is really miserable and you're going to probably want to be dead for the majority of it. But for some strange reason, you're kind of supposed to soldier on and hope that it gets better. But in truth, it's not. Yeah. But, good luck the next 50 years or so. Because that's life. I mean, it's very hard to do that. It's tough.
Yeah, it is tough, man. It is tough. But you got to soldier through. We had a little technical echo issue in the beginning. So again, you're back on the bench podcast, Bubba and Pink, home of sports, music, and mayhem. Appreciate our early viewers here that catch the problem. Let us know about it. Appreciate you, Chris, Ebony. Shout out to Coach. He's in the building. Appreciate you guys. And yeah, let's get to the show, man. And because of the echo, again, we're telling you guys what we're gonna talk about today: Dwight Howard, NBA, Kodak, Deion Sanders, Florida State, all of that good stuff, man. And let's choose something here, man. Let's enter the NBA. Let's do that. All right.
Regular season started last night. Pair of games.
So the Denver Nuggets, of course, they come out defending champions, play the Lakers. A lot of talk over the offseason, right? Because this was the Western Conference Championship where Denver swept the Lakers, and then you have this barrage, like even on the parade, you have Coach Malone, the Denver Nuggets coach. He's throwing shots at LeBron, saying, I might retire tomorrow. You never know. After, of course, after the Western Conference Finals, LeBron was saying he was going to retire. You got, Malone saying, we're the daddies, we're the Lakers' daddy, and all of that stuff. And you got Anthony Davis saying, yeah, me and Bron been talking all summer. Well, we don't like that, and we got something for him, and all of that stuff.
At least for the first half.
And then you come out, man, and you have this game, and typically it's game one of 82. It's a big game, but not really. You're gonna see these guys 3 more times. But I thought this was a really big game because of the off-season chatter, because you guys addressed it and said it was a big, like, you I can't wait to play these guys.
Yeah, the Lake. I mean, Denver talked. The Lakers accepted the challenge, like Black Panther, and basically nothing's changed in the last 5 months. The Denver Nuggets are a better basketball team than the Lakers, and they proved it again. And like that game played out like the whole series.
Yes.
There was literally no changes. I mean, there's a few changes on the periphery of these two rosters, but Denver is the better team. The Lakers don't have any answers for them. And if they play 10 times, Denver's going to win 8 or 9.
If not 10.
Maybe 10. Yeah.
I mean, like, they answered every Lakers run. Like, the Lakers would go on, like, these double amount of runs. I mean, Denver's already up 8 or 9 at this point, or a little more. And then the Lakers are going, like, a 17-4 run, 15-5 run. And then every single time, Denver would answer with, like, a huge 5-point, 6-point, and then just retake over the game. And to AD, right? You know, I've personally, I'm proud to say I've never been an AD guy, and I don't understand the people who are AD guys, and because there's a time where you have to throw the fucking potential word out of you. I mean, he's been in the league long enough. Potential shouldn't be in your vocabulary when explaining or talking about Anthony Davis. You know, he's a fucking veteran now. Yeah. You know, and the problem is we all know, he's inconsistent and all and this and that.
And injury prone.
But there comes to a point where no, it's not that he's inconsistent. I mean, you know, that's a part of the story. But he's a certain level of player, and a certain level of player he's not elite. That's just it. He's a star in the NBA. You know, all the NBA players that are just, you know, regular stars, they are inconsistent. Like these are guys who come and go. You know, they'll make an all-star team. They'll do this, do that, but they're not the elite superstars like Jokic, you know, Embiid, LeBron during his stretch, Steph Curry, KD, Giannis. Like, they want to put AD in that class. He's never been a part of that class. That's one thing. He's never been a part of that class, and he never will be.
And the defining characteristic and why he's not a part of that group is mentality. Mentality distinguishes the great players, and that's what he lacks. And it's evidence again. Yeah, it manifests itself in not being able to play through injury. It manifests itself in inconsistency of performance, but it manifests itself right here. You are playing the defending champions. You're playing the playoff MVP who kicked your ass.
Yes, yours.
And you talk during the summer. You say you want the smoke, and you come up and play the way that you did. 0 points in the second half. You are just mentally weak. That's what you are. That's why you don't belong among the upper tier of stars. Here's the thing. The Lakers could have lost this game, but AD could have played, you know, and been the best player on the floor that night and had a game, and you respect that.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. He played his butt off. He had 34, 14, and 5 assists and a couple blocks. We respect that. But he doesn't do that because you nailed it. That's not who he is. And we need to do a better job of looking at players and assessing them. Who belongs in the upper tier? Who's a pretender? Who's a role player? And identify people. But every year we have some like pedigreed NBA guy like Kevin Garnett or somebody telling us that Anthony Davis is going to have a year. Yeah. He's the top whatever player. Fuck you, KG. You're wrong. And I don't know. Like, you had a great career. You yourself were a competitive guy. I don't understand how you could look at this other guy and say that you know he's that, because he's not. You know, I mean, you should look in the mirror and see yourself and say, that guy. I see myself in that guy. If you see yourself in that guy, you are Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
Because you can't see shit.
Like, it's okay to look at a player and say, I need to show this player that he's not fucking better than. I don't care if it's game 1 or fucking game 34 on a fucking Monday night. Like, as much as you guys fucking shit on Joel Embiid, and I know that my team is 76ers, this and that, but look at every time they play the Denver Nuggets. Look at how different Embiid's energy level is when he's going up against Jokic. He's trying to destroy him. That's what he knows how good Jokic is. Like, he knows that. He's not playing against whoever the fucking Hawks is trotting out at center on this fucking Tuesday night. He understands the moment, who the player is, it's important to him to prove to himself, Jokic, and the league, like, I'm better than this guy. Yeah, I don't care. You guys can give him MVP. He can win finals, but I'm better than this guy. I'm going to show you guys tonight. And whatever happens. And Anthony Davis just does not. It's like you said, mentality. He doesn't have that inside of him.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to come out. He's going to play his game. And it's just not fucking good enough.
But again, it's what I hate and what I'm getting at is like the evaluation of guys.
Yeah.
It is fair to ask the question, like, okay, AD got handled by Jokic in the playoffs. Like, you know, is he going to show us something? Don't say that he's great. Don't say that he's better than he is. But the question's there. Is he going to show us something? And again, this is a guy who's been in the league long enough. He's shown us everything that he has to offer, and it's not enough.
And you could say I'm overreacting, whatever you want to do. If I'm the Lakers GM this morning, I'm just he's on the block, and I'm active. And I think we've said in the last year or two we would trade him anyhow.
I never would have traded for him.
Yeah.
I think if the COVID season was a regular season, he would not have been healthy and the Lakers would not have won the finals that they did in the bubble. And I would have traded him coming out of the bubble because the notion that you're going to get anything more out of him is absurd.
The problem with me is the injuries is a real thing and it plays a major part. But that's not even the thing for me.
Yeah, even when healthy,
Fully
this guy
healthy
is not
AD,
good enough.
I don't want him.
Yeah.
I don't want him because he garners a max contract. You have to pay him a max. And he's just and I can't count on him to at least play these other elite guys evenly. Like, you know, this is supposed to be his team. I can't count on him to fucking at least, like, not even outplay Giannis or Jokic or Embiid or whatever, KD or all these guys. I can't even count on him to play these guys evenly, like in his own impactful way. Not you don't have to score more or rebound more, whatever the case may be. But even in his own impactful way, I can't even count on that. I don't need this. I'm gonna tell you. I was thinking of some crazy things, and I know it's maybe an overreaction, but I don't know. I would look into if I can get Cat in another piece.
Cat?
I would look into that. I know, and that sounds drastic, right? But at least let me tell you one thing about Cat. He's going to give you what he gives you every single night. He's going to stretch the floor. He's going to rebound the ball every single night. He's soft. He's weak, but so is fucking AD. And he's and Cat is going to play more games. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like I would do.
It's a bit younger as
that.
well at this point.
He's a bit younger. Yeah, I would look into that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and the problem is also, and the reason why that's number one on my list is because, you know, it's not like you're not going to get anything awesome for AD at this point, right? The league knows what he is. He has that contract and also the injury factor. So, you know, it's not like you're not going to get Joel Embiid for him. Any Lakers fan, I heard this twice today already on fucking major networks. The reason why that's not a thing is because that's not even plausible, right? You know,
the only way that could get plausible is if Embiid reaches a point where he's demanding a trade.
Yeah. No,
and he goes like full James Harden, and then if you're the Sixers and you're looking at it and say
AD is a consolation prize.
AD plus some other stuff.
Yeah.
It's, you know, whatever. Let's see what we could do.
Yeah.
Versus the, you know, the other packages.
It's better than that
BS
Knicks package that's out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would take that over that. But yeah, that would be the only way.
But yeah, I mean, but the big thing, like when we're evaluating players, when a player has shown you who he is, like understand who he is.
Yeah.
Don't try to tell yourself he's something else. Now, players' first 3 to 4 years of their career, there can be bigger periods of growth. But when the guy's this deep into the league, he is what he is.
Yeah. And then some guys, you can get fooled by some guys. I think James Harden fooled me and some other guys.
I was never fooled by him.
But AD has shown and he's shown enough. You know what he is, man.
More than enough.
He's shown more than enough. And
even his thing, like his response to playing poorly, just got to shoot it more. Like, really? How about playing with greater effort?
Yeah.
How about rising to the moment for your team?
Yeah.
But no, I'm just going to go shoot it more.
1 rebound in the first half. I know he has 17 points, but that's come on, man. You're the center. You're the big. It's crazy. That's showing no effort. That's showing low effort. You're letting guys beat you to the boards.
Yeah.
You know, and to be and to have your moniker as this some sort of defensive fucking guru. And I said this last year, and people still I fucking hate it, man. You can't continually get your ass whooped. I don't give a fuck how good Jokic is. If you're this defensive stalwart, one of the best of all time, you can't let a guy continuously every single time y'all play destroy you. That cannot happen. You're not this great of a defensive all-time player if that's the case. You know what I mean? Like a foul out. Show me that you're trying to stop this guy, man. Do something, because other, you know what I mean? I know I keep going back to Embiid, but even other guys, like, you know, they don't continuously get their ass whooped by Jokic. I'm talking about the elite defenders. You know, withstanding. So, where the Lakers go from here? I think they're still going to have a decent
going
season.
Anywhere. The Lakers are treading water. That's what they're doing. None of the deck chairs on the Titanic moves they made in the offseason make a big difference, and they're just going to continue to tread water.
I think they're still going to have a decent season. I think they'll still make the playoffs. I think they'll still be a top five-ish seed.
But that's treading water. That's what they were last year.
Well, last year they made it to the Western Conference Finals.
Well, yeah, but it's a little flukish. But
I don't think it was flukish.
I do.
Yeah, they thoroughly beat a Golden State team.
Well, I hope
Memphis team.
I hope that we're not looking at this as the Western Conference Final again, because it's a bad.
That would be disappointing.
It's a bad matchup.
Yeah,
for the
I wouldn't
Lakers.
want to see that either. As much as I like LeBron, I wouldn't want to see that.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. And the other game was the Phoenix Golden State game there.
Kind of a back and forth game. Like,
Yeah.
you know, there was periods of time the Suns were better, and then the Warriors made moves. You know, Suns win the game. I'm a Warriors guy from our perspective. I liked what I saw from Kuminga and Moody. I thought they both played reasonably well, and
They showed some growth.
yeah, so there's growth there, and I think that they're, you know, a bit more confident in their role, and you're playing without Green, which is significant. But to me, that's much more of a, hey, we lost the first game against a quality opponent.
1,000%.
I don't think there's anything to read
nothing
into
to draw.
that matchup.
But there's nothing to draw from it as far as like a But I don't think Golden State is a serious contender. You know, and whatever, first game or not.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think. I think they're more of a mid-tier playoff team.
Yeah, they need things to happen. They need an injury to happen or a move to be made.
That elevates the group.
That elevates the group. They're really small. I don't know what they would do with Denver.
You know who was god awful was Saric.
Yeah.
He looked like a clumsy drunk.
Yeah.
Just literally watching him play, like he didn't look like in control of his body.
The problem is they're trotting him out there as a reserve center, really.
Yeah.
Because they're so desperate for the size. But he's really a stretch four. Like he's not supposed to be down in the paint for any reason at all.
And I don't disagree with that point, but I was just shocked. Like he literally looked uncoordinated. Yeah. And when he was when I remember him playing with the Sixers at one point.
Oh, we loved him.
He was solid.
Yeah.
He seemed as a Sixer, he seemed comfortable in what he was trying to do on the floor.
But you got to think of his role.
Yeah, but I still think, like, when you're playing, you know, you kind of go to the things that you do. Yeah. And he kind of was out of sorts. Yeah. Yeah, again, maybe they were, like, calling stuff and really asking him to do things he didn't want to do. But, you know, you're a pro basketball player. You should be able to kind of still be yourself and maybe morph the role a little
I would
bit.
like to see him with Green and see
how they use him and what they do.
use him if he plays with Draymond, and see if he can get a couple more freer shots, and see how that looks. But typically he's a good passer, good shooter. But the Phoenix thing, I do need to see it with Bill, but a lot of people were just assuming, and I think it's because Bill is the shortest guy, that Bill's going to be a point guard. But I said it from day one. I'm pretty sure Devin Booker is going to be the point guard because he's done that in spot duties throughout his career for Phoenix. When the point guard is down or something like that, he'll move the point guard, and he always plays well. And I think Bill and Durant is going to play off of him. A couple of things I draw from the Phoenix team. They're going to be a good team. They're going to be in it at the end just because of the offensive firepower, and their role players are just a lot better than I think people gave that team credit for. They made some really good moves, especially when they got.
Nurkic had a strong double-double.
Yeah.
In the game, that moving on from Ayton, but getting it. It's almost like a little reminiscent of when Dwight Howard moved on, but the Magic got Vooch.
Yeah,
who's a good player. Like when you lose a high end talent, you're kind of like, oh man, this is horrible for us. But when you get something at the exact same position that is something of a credible player, that makes a huge difference.
And he's a better fit for the team.
Yeah. And I want to de-emphasize the whole point guard thing. I think point guard play in a lot of ways is kind of overstated. And I think that there's the mechanics of advancing the ball up the floor, which, how many possessions are you going to be in a rebound or in transition anyway, where you're not relying on a single guy to do that. And then once you're in the half court, once the ball advances half court and you're in a set, it's the set. Now, there is a skill to kind of manipulating some defense, and there's a skill to throwing and delivering balls on time. But what you have with elite scorers, that's mitigated to a degree because, they can function out of pick and rolls in some sets, but they can also kind of ISO, and their very skill set presents a certain leverage that immediately manipulates the defense.
Well, I think it depends on the team and the offense.
Right, but what I'm saying, you have with those three guys, their presence on the ball creates a leverage that he's got it there. He's one or two dribbles away from one of his favorite spots, and we have to begin defending that. So you're not in this almost weird high school setting where somebody's a dribble up, we're going to call a play, and it relies on this one guy making an opening pass. That's the thing.
Well, yeah, because for example, I think the Boston situation has been overstated for years about needing a point guard.
Right.
Jason Tatum and Brown are going to have the ball in their hands 80 to 90% of the game.
Yeah.
There is no point guard that's going to, like you said, run pick and rolls to get those guys open. Those guys are going to ISO and have the ball.
Right.
But there are certain teams and certain players, for example, my team, Embiid, 76ers, they do need a point guard. To run those things with Embiid to get him easier looks and things like that. There are certain teams. Chris Paul has been that guy his whole career, where he's been a ball dominant point guard, things like that.
But it's really, we talk about the center is not the center. There's really 2-3 credible centers in the league, But point guard's similar because so many of the nominal point guards. They do a lot of high-level scoring, or you're on a team that has, active ball-intensive wings, and you actually become kind of a spot-up guy to fit with that. And so, when you talk about lineups and players and stuff like that, it's not really the five cemented positions. It's really just the combining attributes on the floor in groups of five. And whether that's a bench unit, you do need certain things to function as far as that goes: defense, rebounding, ball handling, shooting. You need some balance of those four attributes.
Yeah, no matter how you slice
it. Whoever's bringing the ball up or doing that or whatever, but that's what you need. And as long as you strike that balance with the five-man group that's on the floor at any given time, you're okay.
How much longer are you guys going to go with this Kevin Durant thing? It surprises me how long, year after year after year, you guys can go with this. This guy's the greatest scorer the best scorer in the league, and he can do this, and he's unstoppable. And it's been so long since I've seen Kevin Durant be unstoppable. Last time I seen him unstoppable, he was on the greatest team ever assembled in sports history, and I haven't seen him unstoppable outside of that. Kevin Durant is he's not what you guys say he is, and I don't know how much film and footage and years you're going to need to see. The book has been out on him for the last 6-7 years. You play physical, you're going to be successful against Kevin Durant. That's the book, and you're going to stop him, and it's not going to be that hard to do. They're doubling. They're down in the fourth quarter. They're doubling Devin Booker. You know how disrespectful that is for you to have a guy on your team that you say is the most unstoppable scorer in the history of the league, but they're doubling his teammate.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about here?
Now, make no mistake, this is Devin Booker's team. Like, Durant is at a period of time, and he's starting decline. He's in decline. And a lot of when we talk about decline, it's not that you still can't shoot a ball. What decline is typified by is a loss of energy. And a lack of like you're just not as involved in the game. You can't just go full throttle all game. And what that means is the game then has to come to you to keep you involved. And what you have in Phoenix is Devin Booker is the higher energy, higher leverage player of the two. He's going to be more involved in the game, and Durant has to take a secondary position behind him because he's not running the floor with great energy. He's not moving around off the ball with great energy. He's basically relying on his presence and getting to his spots. That's where he is right now. And that's all he is.
He's been there for a few years.
He's been there for a few years,
Quite
for
a few
sure.
years.
But and again, the Warriors were like super optimal situation, but he hasn't been in great situations since then, because you never really had the whole Kyrie and Harden and all that group. They never played together. They never played well. Like that never gelled into anything. To go back though, the 1 year when his toe was on the line, he was phenomenal in that game. Yeah. And he was an absolute killer, and credit him for that. But, he was in a dysfunctional situation in Brooklyn. Now, midway, he goes out to Phoenix. They were imperfect last year. We'll see what they can do this year. But I just think at this point it's clear that it's really Devin Booker's team. He's the alpha of it, and I think that Durant is going to be this like a secondary or tertiary piece, depending on where Bradley Beal kind of fits in this.
Yeah. And then we also have a full slate tonight. We were watching a little bit of that Magic game coming out here, but it looks like they're gonna whoop the Rockets pretty handy. They're up almost 20 points now. Fred VanVleet having a rough go. The big money guy over there, and then with the Magic is just Cole Anthony, the new paid guy. 20 and 26. He's coming off the bench as well. I didn't think he would come off the bench. I think he's better than Suggs, but they got an investment in Suggs with the high draft pick. So
I think that one of the problems with the Magic, and maybe it sorts itself out this year though, is roster calibration. Paolo's going to be your main guy. I think when you look at the team, Fultz is probably the second most important player. And then the rest of the spots, it's like, again, you could start Suggs or you could start Anthony. Like what difference does that make? Now, until one of these guys in these swing positions really kind of distinguishes themselves and becomes the guy, the roster's almost a little difficult to manage. To me, it's easiest to coach a roster that picks itself, that hear the roles. We know what everybody is, and and it is what it is.
Unfolds.
But when you're sitting there and you've got a decision every night, like, hey, should I be giving Cole Anthony 33 minutes, or should I be giving Suggs 33 minutes? Or I'm just going to get out there, give them both a chance, and see who gets hot. That's night to night. That's tough. It's tough to rely on that, and to get it right all the time. And so I think until the Magic kind of settle into a certain roster calibration, they're going to be a pretty mid team.
Yeah, for sure. Isaac had himself a game. Your guy, Florida State.
He played?
He played, man. He was a 10th guy, but he had himself a game. So that's a good sign
encouraging.
For him. Yeah, that's a good sign.
He was a guy he seemed to be like a rising. Like how now. They're not the same player, but he almost had like a Chandler Parsons type of career, where he kind of showed some promise as like kind of this versatile modern day player, and then kind of ravaged with injury. And I had literally written him off. He had with two ACLs or something, and just never has been healthy for probably since the bubble.
Exactly.
Really. He got injured in the bubble again and hasn't played consistently since then. So, yeah, tough situation for him. But, if he can get his career going again. I got to say it, though. Being around Markelle Fultz has probably got to be a good thing for him.
Encouraging, yeah.
Because that's a guy who's...
Anybody that needs a turnaround.
been through hell and back.
Yeah,
and he's really to his credit. And I mean, think about Fultz. He went top pick, over Jason Tatum essentially, which in and of itself is problematic. Mm-hmm. Then he goes through all the issues with his game and his health. Then he finally gets a little traction here and then tears an ACL.
Yeah.
And now he's fought back from that. So, I mean, credit to him. I know, as a top pick, he'll probably always be regarded as a bust, but I really respect where he's gotten in his career at this point because of that grind.
I love Markel. Yeah. And, he let us, I guess you could say, in theory, he let us down, but I've always loved Markel. Markel, always rooting for him. Love the way J. Cole put him in the lyric, too. Cleveland playing Brooklyn is an interesting opening game. It's in the third quarter, and Matt Strus has 21 already. I know the Heat are upset they let him go, thinking they were going to get Dame.
I literally could have picked him in my fantasy basketball draft, and I took a pass.
Oh, man, he has 7 threes already. Third
That's
quarter.
all his thing, 21 points and 7 threes.
That's it.
That's it. Straight math from Matt.
They say Ben Simmons is back. He's backed up to he does have 9 boards, 9 assists. But 2 points and hasn't shot a 3, hasn't shot any free throws. So we'll see where that goes. And
is that a close game?
It's a close game.
Okay.
Cam Thomas is keeping Brooklyn in. He has 31. Again, that's a game that's in the third quarter. He has 31. Cam is one of those guys. He's a heater guy, and as of right now where he's at in his career, I think it's perfect having him coming off the bench. Have him come off the bench, and if he starts out hot, you ride him, and if he's cold, with a lot of games, he's gonna brick him up. You sit him down.
I think
he's one of those guys.
For the longevity of his career, I don't know what type of guy he is, and I don't know how he resonates in a locker room and in a team setting. But I think at this point he needs to model himself in the like Lou Williams, Jamal Crawford role, and just embrace that and say, this is what I can do.
Yeah, and
become that guy that people just know you can get a bucket and you deliver that.
Yeah.
But I think any notions of him being like a genuine starter or anything bigger than that, I think are kind of gone.
Exactly. Then the last game I'll talk about here, the Thunder and Bulls. Our Wemby guy hasn't started yet. So Thunder and Bulls. Thunder is up by 6.
Okay. And
you got Shea. Shea's having a good game, 17-4 so far at halftime. And Chet is he's 3 for 4, 1 for 1 from 3. So hasn't taken a lot of shots, but he has 7, 3 and 2.
You said that's in the third quarter?
No, halftime.
Halftime, okay.
Halftime. So he shot 3 for 4, 1 for 1 from 3.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on those. Another thing we'll talk about here. We'll keep it semi NBA. Let's talk about this Dwight thing, man.
This is interesting.
Have a little fun. It's gonna start out with a little audio here.
Allegedly, Howard pushed him back or made him lay back in the chair while this other person came in that he's describing as a transgender. And this transgender allegedly performed fellatio on this individual, and it was unwanted. So now this person is allegedly suing Dwight Howard for this alleged situation. Now, somebody put in the chat, this dude grabbed one of his teammates' private parts, live TV. Yeah, I mean, all of that is going to play a part in what someone would believe about Dwight. And that's why reputation is key.
That has been surfacing a lot. The when he grabbed the teammate on the sideline.
Who was that? What happened?
He was in the game in the NBA, and he basically, the guy was coming out of the games, coming to sit down on the bench next to Dwight, and Dwight reached over and grabbed his thing. That's what it looked like on TV. But, now, basically, since this news has come out now, I feel like we've heard rumors for years. But since this concrete thing has come out, they've gone back and looked at all of the questionable things Dwight has done and said, and it's like,
Well, all right, so yeah, couple things here. Yeah, like you know, there has been some stories about Dwight. I think when he was with the Wizards, there was like a transgender person who had captured some screenshots of some chatting and stuff like that, and then I wonderfully, ironically, Dwight was out with a strained glute muscle during that period of time, which is like, draw your own conclusions. But what's kind of interesting about this particular story, though, is there have been things about Dwight that have circulated. And mind you, this is a guy who's got a bunch of baby mamas too, and I think 7 or 8 kids. So he's all over the place. But the funny thing is like it exists in this realm of like rumor, innuendo, nothing concrete. In this sexual assault lawsuit, he's in the position of having to defend himself. And his legal defense, articulated by his attorney, is that yes, sex occurred, but it was consensual. So he's basically, this lawsuit put him in like a checkmate situation to acknowledge that he is bisexual or, you know, maybe coming out as gay. And, you know, for whatever that's worth, that's what makes it to me kind of interesting or funny, is that you have to basically go all in on your defense to say, yes, I did have gay sex with these 2 people, but yeah, it was consensual. Everybody was on board.
And that's funny you mentioned, because they also replayed this interview he had with Angela Yee, who used to be on the Breakfast Club, but this was on her podcast.
Her voice was incredibly annoying.
And she was interviewing Dwight, and she directly asked him about that, about the noise, about the kids, you know, how he doesn't take care of his kids, and about the gay rumor. So he's talking about it, and he never directly, he doesn't say whether he is bisexual or not. The term he kept using was, I'm never going to disclose everything that's happening in my bedroom. You know, that's personal. And he was saying how, but you know, people are going to say what they're going to say. They just want you know, the news to be negative about Dwight and things like that. That makes it sound like what he's saying is they're lying on me, like they're lying about that.
Yeah,
you know, but he never made
knowing how people talk though and think. I take that as an admission.
Yeah.
If you can't directly answer a question, if you have to kind of go around it, you're acknowledging the truth of what's being said.
And in comparison, a rapper, Lil Baby, there was this crazy video that was released of this guy giving this other guy some head, and they were saying that's Lil Baby. And in comparison, they asked Lil Baby about it, and he was like, you know, basically, he made like a rap line about it, but he was talking, but he was like, you know, guys, stop being crazy. That's not fucking me. You know what I mean? Like, and that's, you know, that's a way.
Right. I mean, that's, yeah.
Now let's fucking move on. And I'm just, you know, how am I having to address this? I don't know. But no, that was not fucking me.
Right.
You know,
right.
But whatever. But that's how you do that. But, you know,
but that's how you do that if it isn't you.
If it isn't you.
If this is who you are, I mean, at some point, you know, you just need to embrace who you are.
But I think he understands, because this was a Dwight, especially at that time of the interview. You know, this is a Dwight who wants to get back into the NBA.
Yeah,
that's right or wrong. That's very tough to do if you're, you know, if all of this is true about you and stuff like that.
And I want to say this, like, you know, in my opinion, the bigger issue is not whether he's gay or bisexual or not, because that just simply is what it is. And the league has had a gay player, and there's probably other players in the league that are gay, they're just not public about it. But the issue here, though, and I know the Warriors had spoke to him really recently, but if this whole thing was in the pipe, that, you know, this lawsuit's coming and it's maybe going to go to a trial or whatever the case might be, like, as a team starting the season, you don't want this headline to be the biggest thing of the first week of the NBA season. And so it's easy to take a pass on Dwight, because this is baggage. I mean, it's his personal life. It's what he did or didn't do. But if you're a team looking to employ him, this is baggage that you probably don't want or need at this point in the year. And that's, you know, and we kind of took a similar position with James Harden last week. Like, his behavior becomes this story in the opening of the season that the team doesn't need. everybody in Philadelphia, I'm sure the local media guys, they're getting the microphone in their face and they're getting asked, well, hey, what's going on with James Harden? Or do you think, whatever, he's back in town. What is he doing? Have you talked to him? And it's like if whoever signed Dwight, if they signed him during camp or right before camp, their week would be consumed right now with answering questions about this lawsuit, which who wants to do that? This is his thing, But the other thing, it's kind of like a pet peeve of mine, is this is a sexual assault allegation. Like, was this introduced in the criminal setting? Was this reported to law enforcement? Was it investigated? Was anything, found, or what were the determinations? Obviously, if it's just civil at this point, at some level, nobody embraced a criminal prosecution of these activities. And a lot of times that could be because, it's a he said, she said, or he said, that, nobody can really parcel out with any certainty.
You know what surprises me every time, and it also reminds me, like, these, stars of whatever, sports, entertainment, music, whatever, like they're just regular people like us. Because what surprises me every time is how many times these people get caught up over DMs, text messages, et cetera, et cetera. I love the text. I prefer text over calls, FaceTime, all of that. But if I'm a whatever, millionaire, athlete, entertainer, whatever, and I am doing something that I do not want to get out. Dwight, you can easily tell he didn't want this to get out in the public because he thinks this is going to hold him up from an NBA job, whatever. So, and all these other entertainers, sports figures, why are you accepting DMs and all of that good stuff?
Or initiating DMs.
Or initiating DMs.
What?
And one moment here. Oh man, and accepting DMs. I'm sorry. Hello, you are on the bench podcast, Bub and Pink. What's going on now? Hello. Yeah, man, you on the bench. You on the bench podcast. What's going on?
How you doing? I was just giving you a call.
We talking about Dwight Howard right now, man. We're talking about Dwight Howard and getting caught up with this sexually assault case.
No.
Yeah, you know anything about it? He's coming out as bisexual. You had to admit it. You live in the Atlanta area. What Dwight is
yes,
from.
Yes, sir. Oh man, but Dwight was long gone. He was long gone before I discovered him. But this is new information to myself.
Oh, you didn't know? You don't know anything about the sexual assault case?
I don't know nothing about it.
Okay. How big is the rock you're living under?
Oh man, is Mr. Pink?
Yes, it is.
How you doing, man? I watch you all the time. I always wanted to meet you.
We'll make that happen at some point.
You wanna give a tequila plug before you get off the phone here?
Yes. Hey, I want you guys to know that Aplomo Tequila will be out November 23rd. Please try it out. It'll be in stores November 23rd. And Bubba, I'll make sure I get some of it up there to you so you and Pete can try it out yourself.
We'll try it out on the show. I don't always do shots, but when I do, it's usually tequila.
There you go.
Absolutely. I get it there ASAP. I promise you guys.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
All right. Appreciate you. I hit you back at the show.
Thanks.
All right. Yep.
But yeah, that always surprises me so much that these guys get caught up over DMs and texts.
But the reality is that's how we as people communicate now.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is.
Yeah.
And like, what's the alternative? I mean, if you're out trying to engage with people, if you're trying to find people to have intimacy with or whatever, that's how it's done. I mean, like, what you're supposed to like kind of do this through like an intermediary or like a. You've got a guy that kind of does your chatting for you.
Hey, if it's that important, and if there's millions at stake, they need to figure something out. I mean, I don't necessarily have an answer, but I mean, this deads the rest of it. I mean, it was a small chance anyhow that Dwight was going to play NBA basketball again. I mean, I think he would have had a strong chance at the Warriors just because they have such a size deficiency.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it was low chance anyway. But if there's millions at stake, yeah, something else needs to be figured out because there's an alarming rate, an amount of DMs, texts being discovered that kind of like screw with these guys' careers.
Well, I mean, the majority of them kind of fall into the just generally embarrassing category. They're not necessarily like career-breaking stuff. I mean, and really, here's the other thing you got to keep in mind: like, whatever the DMs that were in this thing, that doesn't amount to anything. Maybe like we said, there was the transgender person a while back, but that was in Washington, and he survived that and became a Laker and became a champion. You know, an embarrassing, uncomfortable DM doesn't derail somebody. You know, but when it elevates to behavior that results in, you know, criminal charges, investigation, or civil suits for damage, that's where you have a problem. And that's not the DM. That's once you get past the DM. Yeah. That's where that's falling off the tracks. Yeah. You know, and that, again, when you look at it, you know, that's what the problem is. But I mean, to me, honestly, you just have to accept that, like, as people in 2023, whether we're celebrities or, you know, fringe homeless people, like, we're texting and DMing, and that's how we communicate. It's completely accepted. I mean, it's, you know, my clients end up having my cell phone number. They text me directly on stuff, and that's just the way we are. Like, people want to communicate that way. It's easier to do that than, you know, having a phone call in a lot of situations, and it goes to all aspects of your life. I just don't think there's any way around it. You as an individual person have to set parameters for yourself as to what am I going to put in a DM. I mean, we have to function in a way that, like, we know we text people, we know we go in DMs and communicate, but we have to simultaneously know that that's essentially saved, and that whatever we put in that form of communication, we have to expect or realize that the public is potentially going to see that at some point, or somebody, you know, beyond just the two people, because you can't trust people.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I mean, that's the issue. You cannot trust, you know, who you're communicating with, that they're not going to take that in some other way and be offended by it, or feel that there's some gain to be had by sharing it with a third person or you know, a million people, if that's the case. But I mean, there's kind of no going back. You know, we're not just going to suddenly be, hey, I can't text you, I'm only going to exchange, you know. Like, and what do you do? I mean, the only reliable thing that you have is like face-to-face word talking that's not recorded.
Yeah.
I mean, telephones can be tapped and recorded. You know, DMs can be screenshotted. You know, passing notes or correspondence that can be saved and preserved. I mean, the only plausible deniability you have is face-to-face communication.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully unrecorded. You know, and then you're still left with just, you know, hey, I said this, I said something else, and where are we?
Because you got the social media, they have the hacks. You know, or at least you can say, hey, I was hacked, man.
Oh yeah, I guess you do have a defense to say, yeah, I was hacked. That's usually never, like, you know, nobody ever jumps on that and be like, oh yeah, of course you got hacked.
Dwight got to have a call with Doc Rivers, man. Hey, man. Doc Rivers,
get into some freaky times together.
Yeah, man.
Become fast friends on Twitter.
Once again, you guys are on the Bitch, man, on the Bitch podcast.
That was, I mean, like, but that's the doc. Like, that's like ultimately that's where 99% of this goes. Yeah. It's just kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
And like that one time, like, you know, I just love 6 out of 7 of his last Twitter interactions, like pornography or something.
Yeah.
And it's just like clearly
it was the transgender pornography. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe he had a few drinks. Maybe he was just not really thinking. And next thing you know, he's got those stories. But I mean, he continued to coach the Sixers, continued to lose a playoff series. Everything was normal.
Everything is normal, man. Everything is normal. I was gonna do this last, but speaking of Doc, we'll close out the NBA talk for right now. I thought it was interesting because Doc Rivers, he had an interview, and I told you off air, had an interview, and he was talking about. They asked him who was more, you know, disappointing as a coach, you know, who frustrated him more, Ben Simmons or James Harden, and his answer was James Harden, because you know, with James, he was explaining how if all we need James to do is this one thing, and if he did this one thing, we can win a championship. If he bought in and did it, and he was saying how he bought in for half a season, and we were the number 1 seed, and he was leading the league in assists at the time, and Embiid is balling, the whole team is functioning well, and then he doesn't get an All-Star vote. He comes in the next day and say, hey, I need to take more shots, and then the rest of the season goes the rest of the season. And I couldn't get him back on board to be this initiator first, scorer second that we needed. Well, he said with Ben, it was more frustrating. And I love this part of the interview because you as a real-time coach, he can't say these things.
Yeah.
And it's things that we all know, but nobody really has confirmed it. And he was saying how he said it was frustrating because of the work. It was so many things. Like work ethic was low. He just refused to do things. And when he said refuse, I know he's talking about shooting the ball. And when he said work ethic and refusal to do things, like that spoke loud.
Yeah, I mean those two elements, the work ethic,
and not loving the game too. Yeah.
Yeah, the work ethic and the not wanting to do things and that can improve you. That right there, those two things are how people become elite versus becoming average.
Yeah.
That's it. You have your physical tools, you have your ability when you come into the league, whatever that level is. But the things that separates these people in the league is the work ethic and the willing to do things that are not comfortable. And if you are a pass on both of those, there's nothing we can do for you.
That's basically what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like that was the ultimate.
Nothing.
There's just nothing we could do. And he said, although that was frustrating, he said the James Harden piece was more because he was doing that one thing, right?
Yeah.
And I just couldn't fucking get him to do the one thing. You know what I mean?
And the crazy thing, and I have a hard time getting my head around it. And I know I'm not an elite performer, and I know that there's a high level of ego that goes with that. But, you're literally drawing this line and saying that failure to be selected as an all-star just was this incredible pivot to the whole Sixers adventure. And that's just crazy. I mean, it seems so small, and it seems almost inconsequential if you do what's necessary to, win a title. And maybe, though, that's who James Harden is. Maybe that's the naked truth about him, is that this is why he's never going to win a championship. This is why he always fell short in the playoffs with talented teams, is because at his core, at what motivates him and who he is, it's individual accomplishment, not team accomplishment. And that's all Doc Rivers ran into, is this man was offended by not being an all-star and felt that he needed to assert his individualism over the team to stoke his own ego. That All-Star game's past. They're not going to invite you back and replay the thing in June. It's over. The only vengeance you can exact is doing something that you've never done.
Bingo.
Win.
Damn, I didn't even think of that. Bingo. Yeah.
Hey, that's why I'm here. Help you out.
And you know what's funny about that? Because I told you when I went on one of my full 76ers rant, and Doc Rivers was a part of some of that heat. And then, I put it on Instagram, and Jeremiah hit me. Remember I told you about that?
Yeah.
And what's funny about that is he was saying how you just have no fucking idea. You guys are gonna have no chance with Harden. And, basically saying, Harden is a problem. And it's funny because now
that was what Jeremiah's take was?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's funny now, hearing Doc on this, because he's on a podcast, he could say a little more, but I'm sure even in home circles or others, he's even going harder. This fucking James guy.
I mean, here's one thing. I mean, I had the pleasure of coaching Jeremiah at Winter Park, and Doc was coaching the Celtics at the time, and I've had a handful of interactions with him. He's one of the most impressive people I've ever met and interacted with.
Who?
Doc.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he had an ability, and I was never clear. Like, was he getting videotape of the games or whatever? But he would come down for a couple games a year, basically, when the schedule permitted, and he would like watch us play, and he would talk to us after the game, like me and Coach Hicksonball, and the insights that he gathered and stated were as concise and clear as if he was with us every day. And again, he's an expert in basketball. We could, I know his coaching resume takes some hits and some stuff like that. Not, at the highest level, there's probably some weaknesses as a coach that explains that. But as a person who's coached high school and pro-am basketball and met and conversed with Doc Rivers in person, several times, he, has a tremendous grasp of human nature, of basketball, of dynamics of people, and it shone through every freaking conversation I've ever had with the guy.
Yeah.
At a wow level. You're like, hey, this guy, you're coaching the Celtics. You're in the middle of the year, and you happen to watch a Winter Park game against Evans, and you literally have just nailed every issue we have in our team.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. And to my credit, you can even back me on this. I always said last year was not Doc's fault.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean. It was not Doc's fault. It was too much other shit going on. Like we could probably find a slightly better coach or whatever. But that wasn't going to change what happened last year.
Yeah,
that was beyond his control. That's for sure.
And he actually. I was at Winter Park for 2 years, 2005 and 2006. He saved our 2006 season before it started. There was in the fall, there was like a players get together at somebody's house, and it was kind of combined with like a parents meeting. And the players were kind of hanging out. They went out on a boat outside one of the guys' houses, and Doc's son Jeremiah didn't go. He kind of went upstairs on his own and watched TV, and he was a bit of a loner. That just was his personality. And Doc asked, he goes, hey, can I speak to the team? I'm like, sure. And he got the team in a room after the guys got back from the boat thing. And he gave a speech. It was like part speech, but part inquiry. He kind of like asked guys questions and then connected it to a speech that dug at the core chemistry issues we were having as a group. And there was like an isolation. Jeremiah was a little bit of an island unto himself, and the rest of the team had kind of grown a little distrustful of that. And he kind of cut to the core of that, and in such a brilliant way that like it really let us grow. And it's something that without that, I don't think we would have had the success we had. We made it to the state final that year, lost the final in Lakeland. But without Doc breaking that down and kind of challenging his own son and the rest of the team, like we don't move forward that way.
Yeah. And does that draw parallels to the Instagram, to that thing you sent me? What was that, today or yesterday? About that was like it was Iggy, right? Yeah.
So there was like they were talking about like teams being like physically connected, and there has been a study that teams that like physically touch each other, the high fives, the hugs, the pats on the back, the chest bumps, teams that touch each other more win more because they're connected. And when I was looking at the piece, and I shared it with you, I was thinking of one of Coach K's big demonstrative things. He always talks about the hand and the fist. And he's like, when you have times of adversity, if you stay open-handed, you're apart. You're going in different directions. Your fingers literally are. And you're weak. But when you're in adversity and you clench the fist and the fingers come together, you become a weapon. And part of that is physicality. And we've been on teams too. It's like when everybody's winning, having a high five, having a hug, like pat somebody in the back, it's natural. Nobody thinks about it. But when you're down 12, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, this guy's shooting too much. He's not getting back on the all the little things force you to not be close to each other. Like you can read the body language of a team and know whether they're successful or not. You're not going to have a successful team that's not going to sit next to each other, that's not going to come in for a huddle. The teams that are struggling, like you'll look, you go in for the theoretical huddle, and half the guys are looking away, half the guys half-heartedly have a hand in, or just generally in the air in the direction. But the teams that are there, that are winning and connected in the way that you need to achieve anything of a substance, they're all in. They're touching each other. The hands are all in the middle.
Pause. Yeah.
And that's that sort of stuff, and it's real. And it was Iguodala was talking about it, and PJ Tucker.
That
was the other one.
Those were the
and it kind of started with the discussion. PJ playing overseas earlier in his career, he said, "I learned how to win overseas. I learned, really what it takes to win." And one of the first things that came out of his mouth after that was, "I knew my teammates' kids' names. I knew who they were." And he goes, "You could be on another team for 4 or 5 years and you barely know anybody." And there's a part of sports culture that, like, maybe a little too cool for that. I don't want to have like a team dinner. I don't want to go on some team building thing. I don't want to do certain stuff because it's uncomfortable for me. But that comfort, that connection, those team building things, build strength in the group. And that's what gets you through difficult times.
Yeah, it does.
And it's not a mystery, and it's not fake. It's there. I mean, if you want to be successful, you need to do these things.
Yeah. Once again, you guys are On the Bench podcast with Bubba and Pink, home of sports, music, and mayhem. We're available on all podcast streaming platforms, including here on YouTube. Please like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Here, shout out to one of our sponsors here, Royal13thebrand.com. Again, that is Royal13thebrand.com. Use promo code Bubba Pink and get all of your fly gear.
Is that like
at
a woman's cutoff hoodie there?
It is.
My daughter wears those, for the record.
Oh, man. Yeah. Those are very popular with the younger women there. Yeah. And they have a lot of other stuff.
Thankfully, not so much with older women.
It depends on what kind of shape they're in these days. Let's move on to college football here. I'm going to play some sound. I wanted to go to the Michigan thing and talk about that briefly. Then we'll get into some Florida college football here. Let's do this.
By way of Michigan.
I don't buy into a lot of this stuff that someone's stealing this, stealing that. I don't buy into a lot of that stuff. You still got to play the game. Back in our glory days with San Francisco as well as the Cowboys, you know darn well Emmitt Smith is getting the ball. You know darn well Mike Irvin is running the comeback. You know darn well Jay Novacek is going to do what he's going to do, and you couldn't stop it. It is what it is. Stop it.
So basically, Michigan is under fire. University of Michigan Wolverines and John Harbaugh, because there was a guy,
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim. I said what I said.
It's just John.
His brother, Baltimore.
Rolling with the Ravens, man.
Jim. We have the same name.
Knees high with the flock.
And there was a guy on his staff, on his coaching staff, who is under fire for going out and stealing signs, videotaping signs of other teams that they're going to play in that season, this season, last season as well. And basically, he would fly out to all of these games, man, and videotape, all of these signs. Now, a couple of issues with that, and the intricacies of it is, okay, so this guy only gets paid $50,000 a year. Okay, so they're saying he did it on his own volition, but $50K a year, and you're going to every single college football game. Not only that, you're buying 3 tickets per game because he's not going to all of the games. Sometimes he's hiring staff members, like lower tier staff,
subcontracting out
to go to these games. He has to buy the tickets and he has to pay them to go and videotape these signs and then bring them back. Now, okay, so you have that, and then
that goes to the issue of, was this guy operating as like a lone wolf, or was he doing this under the direction of Jim Harbaugh?
He couldn't have been acting.
But that's the point. That's the significance of the point you're making. This guy's have limited financial resources, and it's implausible to believe that he's flying around to all these games and doing all this stuff on his own dime and theoretically his own initiative. There's no way that Harbaugh or people high up in that staff weren't funding this, aware that it was going on. And apparently there's a rule against this.
Yes.
For that reason. In-game sign stealing or whatever, that's essentially fair game. If you can pick up, and the reality is a lot of teams, college, maybe less with pro, they're not huddling as much. A lot of stuff's done at the line of scrimmage, and a lot of stuff is done by signals from the sideline. If you go to a college football game, you'll see like literally like poster boards with like weird stuff on it. It could be like a Pokemon character, and that's how communication occurs in these games. And so when you're in the game, in the moment, you could have an assistant trying to pick off these signs or draw some correlation between the signals and the play that's run, and that's fair game. But if you're going to go to a game that your team's not participating in, record this, and then try and connect the dots, that's apparently a violation of NCAA or college football rules. But I tend to go down the route that Dion went. And again, this is, if we're better, it's not going to matter. If we show up and play, you sending a guy around to a bunch of other football games should not beat us. And so while it's probably a violation and should be penalized and discouraged, I'm not going to say that Michigan's success is overly reliant on this. They've recruited well, they've built a strong roster, and they're reaping the benefits of that.
I disagree with both of you guys, man.
All right.
Who am I to disagree with?
Me.
With you and Dion. Your college football team is undefeated, and Dion is a heralded NFL superstar and now college football coach. But my thing is, number one, it's illegal. It's illegal for a reason. If it wasn't a thing or a big huge deal, then it would just be okay for anyone to do it. So there has to be a competitive advantage, otherwise there wouldn't be a rule. Now, how big of a competitive advantage? He's saying, hey, you guys knew Emmett was getting the ball. You guys knew when we had to go throw it to 88. But my thing is, you're tracking the signs. So from week to week, because the teams they switch up their signs. So that's why it's okay in game, but not okay to track over the course of a season, because in game those same signs may not be used again to 3, 4, 5 games down the road. It's so random. But when you're able to track game by game, you can know sort of their cadence and whatever when they like to use these signs and what these signs are going to mean. And it's a huge difference to know Emmett is getting the ball, or to know if Emmett is definitely getting the ball on a sweep right, counter left, power middle. Like, that's a huge difference, and your defense can take an advantage of that. Like, that's I don't know. I was surprised to hear him just say that in generalities. Maybe he was just maybe he was just doing that, speaking in generalities. But that's a huge difference to know. Yeah, I know it's first down, and Dallas Cowboys run on first downs 95% of the time. Well, but if I know he's going counter left, I can create my defense to be able to stop a counter left. And now, you still have to have the players.
But I want to say a couple things on that point. I think that the teams in regular conventional scouting and film review have a tremendous amount of data in that already. Tendencies, what stuff's run from various formations and personnel groupings and stuff like that. You can be in a situation where your data almost becomes overwhelming to the point of being misleading or not useful. Mm-hmm. There's a capacity to absorb data and do something with it, and there's a capacity to absorb data that it's just data for data's sake. And I don't know where that line is. And I don't know what conclusions Michigan's been able to draw from this. But there's not it's not a 1 + 2 = 3 automatically. There can be issues where you can almost get lost in the sauce and mislead yourself by almost having too much data to sort through. Mm-hmm. And again, you're talking about literally, 20, 15 seconds to process this. A signal goes up, you have personnel on the field, and then you're trying to say, 3 weeks ago at Iowa, they, this meant it was going to be, read option left to the short side of the field. And you've got to convey that to the players. They've got to get aligned and play. And there's a lot to be said. Like players play freer and better when they're not overloaded with data and they're not overthinking what they're doing. And so while it is a violation and should be punished, I do think that there's not a direct, clean correlation to doing this type of illegal activity and any significant success on the field because of that.
Okay, so what do you say about Belichick? Bill Belichick for the New England Patriots. He got dinged for this. The Spygate. This was essentially the same thing. Like, he thought it was a good enough competitive advantage to do this, and that's my thing. My thing is not whether it's actually helping teams and coaches and players. My thing is it must be if you're going out of your way to do this. Like it must be a competitive advantage.
I just don't
That's
think
my thing.
I don't think in those terms that must be. I look at it still as like a question. It's like, okay, how productive has this been? And I was always skeptical with I was always skeptical with Spygate. Like how much value did they actually get out of that? Yeah, they got caught doing something. They got punished. It was a bad look. But, like, did it actually make that much of a difference?
I think so.
That question was never, to me, clear.
I don't know.
And maybe you'd have to sit down and have beers with Belichick to know.
Yeah.
I don't, like, I look at it, it's unknown to me. I'm just saying that, it's not a complete mystery, but I'd be curious to say.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with the flat footballs and all of this and that, but and people, and you had professional football players. Well, it doesn't make a difference. You still have to catch it, you still have to hold it. It's negative 10 degrees. You still have to. But I'm saying, and my whole thing is same thing. Well, if it's no competitive advantage, why the fuck are they doing it? like you know what I mean? Like play with regular footballs then. If it's not a fucking advantage, why are you deflating the footballs for 40%? It must be. That's the. I know you said. I understand your point is how much and da da da.
Yeah.
But why? Why do this if you don't know for sure that it's giving your team a competitive advantage? And you're doing it over the course of seasons. This is not something you just try it out for a couple of weeks. Let's see. You're doing this for a couple of years. Like. This means something, like, you know what I mean?
I'm not going to go much more than it could have. Like again, I don't, again, what does the data show us? Like that's the thing.
It would never, I guess, and like you said, I think the coach will be able to tell you more than the data, right? Like you said, if you had a couple of beers with Bill, he'd be able to tell you.
Well, you also got to put this in the context, like, all of our sports are becoming more and more analytical based driven, analytics analysis and such. Now, there's a lot of coaches and there's a debate how what's usable and what's not. And we can have all this stuff, but like, do I rely on this completely, or is there still a point when I'm aware of the analytics, it helps me make an informed decision, but I don't always follow it. I mean, there's and everybody, like every staff, every coach is kind of doing things to their own comfort level. Now, part of that is probably older school people or people that are more reluctant to change and embrace something completely new. But part of it is also just a thing. Part of it could also be, like human ego to a degree. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to want to coach a football game where every decision is basically based on analytical data, and I just happen to be the guy that delivers that decision versus I'm actually engaged in doing something.
Yeah.
And that's that human ego element, and I hopefully that's not where we're going, where we just and I guess that's where your artificial intelligence stuff goes, where it's like we're true. Just out of the deal and just have the AI data
take over.
And that's really, if that goes to the core of the AI stuff, is that our human capacity to take in information, process it, and convert it to decision making is way slower than an AI dynamic.
Right.
And that's kind of where we are. Like, okay, they could take in, who knows, 100, double the data, 3 times the data, and make these decisions in seconds versus a human is just not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, I completely understand. Let's move on to another college football topic. We're in Florida, so let's talk about FSU, Hurricanes and the Gators. You were just at Florida State's most recent game. They're undefeated.
Up there Saturday night against the Duke Blue Devils. It was Went with the college roommates again. Brought my daughter. It was a lot of fun. Daughter hadn't really been on campus, so we walked around campus before the game. They tore down the dorm in which we all met.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and we didn't
That's
know
always
that.
Interesting.
We literally walked to that part of campus, and we're looking at
something that's different
right here, right, what and then it tore the damn thing down, man. But the Noles win again, moved to 7-0. It was an eerily similar game to the LSU game we watched together. Mm-hmm. The first half was a little sloppy. We were down and really played better in the third quarter, but didn't get control of the game until the fourth, which is literally the blueprint of what happened with the LSU game.
Wow.
So that was a little eerie. But overall, a good win. Duke's a pretty good football team. They're limited in the passing game from what I saw. And their main quarterback started and played. We finally roughed him up, and he had to leave the game with a new injury right around the start of the fourth quarter, which kind of helped the turnaround. But it wasn't like he was throwing the ball around with any great danger.
Yeah.
So, but again, we have Wake Forest on the road this week, and we're just kind of chugging away. Things are going relatively well. There's this weird notion though, or feeling that Jordan Travis isn't playing particularly well. He late in this game when we needed it, he became really aggressive with the run. And I don't know, I almost get some RG3 vibes from him where it's like he's almost trying too much to be a pocket passer, and he's losing the idea that what makes you exceptional is that danger of the running with the passing. And if you make yourself one-dimensional, you're helping the other team.
Yeah.
And I know Travis is a guy, knock on wood, he has not suffered a serious college injury, but he's a guy that's gotten banged up pretty much at each season at some point. And I think that there's kind of a fear that he, can't expose himself to that type of injury. But, the closer we get down to the stretch of this thing and potentially being in the mix for a playoff spot, at some point you just got to go all in and just play. Just play.
Yeah, I think so.
Risk injury, risk whatever, and just play.
I think so. And, I was able to watch that game in totality as well. And just watching, I texted you the day after, it seems like this is becoming Florida State's MO. I mean, it's only been a couple times this season where it's played out like that. Yeah. You're losing early and you just, you step on the gas pedal late in the fourth or, fourth quarter and late. And, but to know there's that switch that's there. And I completely agree with Jordan because the way he used his legs in the second half, he just didn't do that in the first. And sometimes, because I don't watch every Florida State game, I almost forget that he has that he's that dynamic running the ball, because I do see him force his way in the pocket. And of course, he's a good pocket passer. I mean, so I almost look at him as he's a pocket passer and a guy who can run when he needs. But when I see him be more dynamic, I'm like, he's a guy that should be running more. You know what I mean?
I love the mobile. I mean, I literally think it's damn near impossible to defend a dual threat quarterback,
especially in college, because of the spacing on the field. The way they set up college football different than NFL. There's much more space on the perimeter in college football,
right?
And if you have a mobile quarterback that's really dynamic, you have something special.
Well, you at his best using the mobility, you have to guard every inch of the field. Mm-hmm. You have the read option dynamic where running backs go in right or left, and then the quarterback has the option to pull it and go the opposite way. So at the line of scrimmage, you have to guard both ends of it. When he's not running, when he's not ever pulling, defenses get to load and just run and pursue the side the back goes to, and you run out of space. And then when you kind of run in the RPO stuff where, you can do handoff, play action, even run it toward the line of scrimmage and fire passes, the defense has to, it's horrible to defend.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of the more significant college games of the last probably 5 years or so tended to skew toward higher scoring games. Mm-hmm. If you look at a lot of the bigger games, even a few of the title games, the scoring is pretty high. And then the other thing, and if you have an element of speed and you're threatening, down the field as well, it's a monster to defend effectively.
Now Florida State is currently fourth right now.
Yeah.
Is there any way they can get bumped out of the playoffs if they run the table, because Washington is undefeated behind them. Oklahoma is undefeated behind them.
Yeah, but you've got Ohio State and Michigan have to play each other. You have, Georgia has to play Alabama, Florida. They've got to make a couple tests before the end of the year. Washington, I don't know the rest of their schedule.
I have it here. They have USC, they have Utah, who is 13th, and they have Oregon State, who is 11th.
Okay, so they have some ranked teams and potentially could fall. I do think, I will say this, I think that there is a West Coast bias that makes it harder for them. A lot of their bigger games are played when most of the country's not going to watch. And I think that can help.
Yeah, but if they beat those 3 ranked teams and they're all in a row, if they beat them, can that help their case?
You know for sure. Well, winning never hurts. Like, that's the thing. But I like what I would say, and we're not a lock. There's certainly a scenario where if we play poorly enough down the stretch, but I think the fact that we are already 4 and Michigan, Ohio State have to play each other, if we run the table, and I do think a couple of things you got to remember, like a couple of our games have been super highly viewed. Yeah. Even that game, there's a lot of currency to Florida State, and he's an Ohio State guy, but Kirk Herbstreit is he's like a low key Seminole supporter. Yeah. Like he was critical when we were bad, but when we're good, he's one of those guys that's quick to bring us up in any general conversation. He's quick to talk about the great atmosphere of and how important it is for college football when Florida State's good. I think there's enough positive press about us, and we have enough of a profile that I'd be really surprised if we run the table and don't make the 4. That would be pretty shocking to me.
It would, and that's really what I'm asking. And I think those are only 2 teams that could make it interesting because they're still undefeated, right? Yeah. Texas took a big loss there,
and I don't know.
They're gonna need help.
The other thing is you don't forget these games, the conference playoff game, conference final game. Because you may have like an Oregon Washington rematch. You may have Texas having another crack at Oklahoma. We may have to play like a North Carolina or Louisville. It's a 1-loss team at this point.
And they only beat Oregon by 3 points. So
it was a close game. If you watching that game, Oregon had like a 4th and 2 or something near midfield and went for it, came up short, and then Washington immediately responded. If they make that 2 yards, the game's over. They're running out the clock, but they came up short. Washington quickly scored, and then even Oregon had a chance to get a field goal, and I think they either missed it or got blocked. So that game was super close. And I think that one was in Washington, not a neutral site.
I think so.
Yeah. Now there's a lot of things that could happen. It's important not to get too carried away. The only thing, if you're a college football person, the only thing you control is the game in front of you.
Yeah, that's the way it goes.
You let other people have their problems.
Now, Florida State don't have any more ranked opponents down the stretch, but they do have 2 rivalry games that'll be on prime time.
If Miami continues to win until we play them, I suspect they will be ranked. Yeah. They're a 2-loss team. Again, if they win out until our game, which is I think maybe 3 weeks or so, they'll probably be in there. Florida's a little different. Their record's not bad. I know they got to play Georgia, which I'd probably figure to be a loss. But if if that's their only other loss, by the last game of the year, they might, they'd be a 3-loss team, and they might be sitting there in the late 20s, or maybe 20 to 25. I'm not sure. But
how do you feel about Miami this year?
Miami's been interesting. I do think that they're a reasonably talented team. I watched the Texas A&M game that they won and kind of pulled away in, which was impressive. I saw the loss at Georgia Tech, which was a very bad performance, but they were done in by coaching. Like that, they had that game won, for Mario. You got to realize that. And if they win that, now they're a 1-loss team right now.
It's a different story.
They're probably maybe 14th or 13th ranked team in the country.
Because North Carolina is they're number 17 in the country, right? So you lose to the 17th
team
in
the
country. So that's it looks different if you win that Georgia Tech
game. But
the
Clemson was a very good win. It's an overtime win. Clemson's not what we're used to, but that was a good win. It was an overtime win. So they're pretty good. Honestly, there's just this feeling in my mind that Mario's not very good. And it reared itself in one game that cost him a game. But I just don't think he's very good.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest holdup. I think if you kind of put them in a situation where they're playing top 10 teams, I don't think there's a team in the top 10. I'd probably go team in the top 12 to 15 that when you go into the game, you think Mario is the best coach in the game. And that hurts.
It does.
That hurts.
I know as a coach, I know the very last thing you want to happen is you single-handedly lose a game for your team.
Yeah.
Like you of course you want to be an additive, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But a lot of coaches just tread water. You know, they can get out of the team's way.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's but if you're in the team's way and you're losing games, that's bad, right?
Well, yeah, a lot of coaches, a lot of players, like are you value add? Are you neutral? Or are you value negative?
There you go.
And to me,
I think he's
Mario's more value negative than anything. As a coach, you know.
But him and his staff have had a turnaround effect to Miami.
Yeah, to a degree.
Miami was more down in the dumps than Florida State.
Yeah.
I know. It was close. It was close, but you know.
You forget how bad we were with Willie.
I know. Y'all were bad.
Okay. They beat us. Willie's final game was losing. Miami beat us at home.
Well, that was Willie. I mean, you know, Willie is he's a special case.
But that's how bad we were.
I know.
But
I think also what I'm counting is Miami had a longer stretch.
Well,
right?
Miami, like in truth, has not been good since 2001.
Yeah, that's
2002.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's what I'm
No,
counting.
you're
You guys may have had a lower bottom for like whatever that was.
The peak about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
With Willie.
But Miami they've been down longer.
Yeah, further. Yeah,
there
for
you
sure.
go. So
I
I
agree
think
with
that's
that.
yeah.
But one significant thing, and again, we said it a moment ago. Clemson's not what they were, but Clemson's not bad. And Miami, basically coming off of 2 losses,
2 losses in a row,
finds it within themselves to beat Clemson in an overtime game. And you got to like in close games, you know, confident teams expect to win, and teams that are fragile are waiting for signals that they're going to lose.
Yeah.
And so Miami overcame that and came up with an overtime victory. So that's significant in their seasonal journey.
Now the Gators, of course, I've been keeping up with them. That's my team. I've been watching every game.
Dwight Howard's favorite team as well.
That's not cool, man.
That's not cool.
So we got Georgia here coming up, like you said. You probably
is that this week?
Yes, this week.
Oh,
so think about the Gators, man. And and I said this in the beginning of the season. I wasn't expecting much. Looks like they probably have a couple of more wins than I thought they would. But every time I turn around, I'm telling you, man, it's like we lock in another 5-star. We just locked in another 5-star. Was that 2 days ago? A defensive lineman. Every week it seems like we're doing that, and now they're climbed all the way up to 3rd so far. And I mean, what the hell do I know? I think he can get to number 1. I mean, that's how
you were so negative at the beginning of this year
on this season.
Yeah, but I knew it wouldn't be as bad as you thought.
But
you literally thought you'd be like a 3-win team.
No, I didn't think that.
You literally were saying that.
No. This is what I literally said. I said, even if we have a 2 or 3 win season, you have to keep Napier in there because of his recruiting. Remember I said, I'm a firm believer in his recruiting.
Yeah.
I'm questionable on his coaching. And I'm still questionable on his coaching because of the play calling, offensive play calling. But, man, I think he's a master recruiter. He's proven it. And I know you guys said we have to, finish the season, and these guys have to actually come on campus and everything like that, because things can change.
Well,
but I mean,
I'm at a place now where he's done enough. Like they've done enough. Like they're not having that really bad bottom out embarrassing season.
Yeah,
they've lost a couple games, but they're competitive, and he's done enough, I think, to keep this class together. And that's, like you said, if they're continuing to add players, that's further evidence of that. So I think things are actually pretty good in Gatorland. I think Napier, again, the recruiting is kind of driving the boat, but this year's performance has been good enough that he's not undercutting himself.
Yeah, to be truly competitive, we're going to need an offensive and defensive coordinator to come in. But our defense is god awful. and it pains to watch the Florida Gators defense because we used to have these defenses that were so good. Even when we were bad and down or whatever, the defense was strong as shit. We just couldn't score.
That was the Will Muschamp era.
Like, he kept some dominant defenses, man.
Yeah.
And even beyond that, I mean, Meyer, whatever, and after Muschamp, we had, good defenses. This is the worst defense I've seen probably ever the Gators have. But the recruiting, it should, if he can get, I mean, he's third now. Even if he stay at 3, it's fine. But you get the 201, I'm fucking, excited. I'm on cloud 10.
Cloud 10.
So we'll see. It will be interesting. We played Georgia. We've been playing Georgia tough, even though you take losses. We've been playing Georgia tough the last couple of years. It'd be interesting to see this game. I'm going to watch it. I'll watch
Georgia has not been great.
Not overly impressive.
No, they have not been. Harrison's Beck has statistically been okay, but I believe Brock Bowers is not going to play. I think he's dinged up.
Yeah, no, he's not going to play.
Yeah, so I mean, he's their best,
he's like a first
their
rounder.
best weapon offensively. He's one of those guys though that like he looks like he's a middle-aged man already. Like just when he has his helmet off.
Yeah,
very weird. It's like a young college guy, and it's just like already looks like he's 32 and trying to finish out his career with dignity. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, Georgia to a degree is a little bit vulnerable. I mean, they don't, they're still tough on both sides of the ball, but there's not a wow factor to this Georgia team.
There's not, and there's this fan thing that you kind of talk yourself into. Maybe, like their last game.
I always do.
Their last game was against Vanderbilt. They beat Vanderbilt 37-20.
Yeah,
we just played Vanderbilt 2 weeks ago. We beat them 38-14.
Oh,
so he's like,
clearly, you guys win by a touchdown. Don't even play the game. Just wait till about 3:30 up in Jacksonville and put the score up. Gators win by 7.
Gators win by, that's math, right?
Yeah,
that's boy math. Talking about
that's right.
No, man, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see if we can hold up, see how that game goes, especially without the number one weapon.
I mean, for me, the only game Georgia looked really good was Kentucky.
Kentucky, I was just going
that was the only game where you really felt like they turned up and dominated. Yeah. The rest of the games, they kind of gone through the motions.
Yeah.
And there is, other than Bowers, like there's not, I'm not getting the same level of buzz regarding their personnel.
Yeah.
Like I'm not getting this buzz that that there's 4 or 5 first-round guys on this roster, like literally they've had the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. So, it is interesting to see.
No, it is. All righty then. Let's go to, let me see here. Let's go NFL, right?
All right.
I think this is interesting because the NFL admits that incorrect calls were made at the end of the Colts-Browns game. Now, if the NBA, I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure the NBA started before the NBA. The NBA started before the NFL as far as sending out that report of corrected calls after the game.
Yeah.
And say, oh, yeah, we messed up on this call and this call, even though it cost you guys the game. And the NFL is doing, I don't know how long they've been doing it, but you have this thing. I was actually watching the end of this game, and it was a terrible, god-awful call. And
what was the call? I'm not familiar.
Basically, it was a ball that went out the end zone. It was uncatchable. The ball should have been deemed uncatchable. I mean, literally, the fucking ball went like into the stands.
Right.
And they called the pass interference.
Ooh.
And it costed the Colts the game, right? And so they come out, NFL come out, referees, hey, we made a mistake. I think they just need to take that out. Because, and here goes the thing.
Take what out? Take the reporting?
Yeah, the reporting out.
See, that's interesting. So, like, obviously, I'm a huge soccer fan. So, in the English Premier League a couple weeks ago, my team, Liverpool, was victimized by a bad offside call. And they have video review. And so, even after the video review, they screwed up the call.
Yeah.
And it was they called it offside on a goal that was clearly onside. What they did there, though, is they released the audio. They didn't just say we made a mistake. They released the audio of the communications as the mistake was being made. Which, again, like when you're listening to the audio, it's almost confusing. Like the guys are saying different stuff. It's almost like they're not talking about the same play, which is frightening. Like literally the game stops. There's a video review. You're only talking about this play. And if you just heard the audio, you'd be like, wait, they're talking about two different things. Like, what's going on? And it almost feels like when you listen to the conversation, it's not surprising a mistake was made.
Yeah.
But I thought it was incredible that they released the audio that we could hear it and be like, okay, these are what these guys are saying at this point. So, yeah, but it does create a tremendously weird feeling. Like, you've admitted that you screwed up a call that could have changed the outcome of the game, but there's no remedy for it.
Yeah, you're not doing you can't do anything about it after the fact the next day. So why report it?
Yeah.
And what Irsay is asking for is that instead of just doing this, senseless reporting or useless reporting, you should every call or non-call should be reviewable. Like, it should automatically come down. That should have been reviewable there.
Yeah, but a game would take 7 hours.
Well, he's saying the last 2 minutes of a game.
Oh, review everything.
Yeah.
That'd still be brutal.
Yeah.
Like, there's no flow or rhythm. And again, that's the tough stuff with all of this because, especially 2 minutes, a lot of times there's a certain rhythm to it. We've got them. We're rushing to the line of scrimmage. They're tired. They're afraid we're gonna win. Whatever. And that thing. But if you're reviewing darn near every other play for something, it gets excessive and it breaks the rhythm of the game.
Yeah.
Every time there's okay, we're resetting and doing that. And, I mean, even soccer, they review all the goals, and so it's also super awkward. A guy scores a goal. Everybody in the stadium celebrates, and then there's a 2-minute review, and they come, oh, that was no goal. It's and you have these funny videos too of the guys they're waiting for that review, and the guy maybe scored his first goal for the team, and he's hyped up, and then it's he's waiting, and you kind of see he's kind of laughing, whatever, and then they get the goal, no goal, and then they either celebrate or get in front. It's super awkward, but again, the idea is if you're gonna go through the process of reviewing this stuff, you can't get it wrong. That's the only purpose we're reviewing these things for.
Yeah.
Is that yes, we recognize there's human error on the field in the heat of the moment, but we're going to give ourselves this review option to get that right and take that element out. So it's just a catastrophic all systems failure if you're reviewing stuff and still blowing the call.
Basically.
I mean, at that point, the argument is we don't need you to do anything if that's the best you have to offer.
Exactly. Speaking of goals, Wemby just hit his first three, NBA three.
There you go.
His first NBA bucket was a three-pointer there. He's actually hit 2 of them now. So he's 2 for 3. Those are the only shots he's taking. So he's taking 3 threes, no other type of field goal
to start his regular season career. Some of the videos and images of Wemby don't even seem real.
The 3-point
blocking threes.
When Zion did that, I forget, it was a college or rookie season. He did that, and it was impressive because it was actually him leaping off of the floor, showing this 50-inch vertical leap, blocking a 3-point shot. With Wemby, it looks like a freak of nature alien.
That's what it does. That's what I'm saying. Like
a tall
when they give you the
when
they give you the freeze frame picture of it, how long he is at full extension with a jump. It's crazy. It just doesn't even seem like that. You and me and him are all the same species. It's just insane. And there was another one I saw the other day where it's he's doing some sort of lateral defensive agility drill with one of the coaches, and I can't say he was moving blindingly fast, but just how long he is in a defensive stance and how much ground he covers just by moving an arm. It's really just, I really think when you talk about the hype that he generated, I honestly think it's rooted in seeing him move live. That when you see how long he really is and how agile he is at that length, when people see it in person, it becomes real. And you're this is going to impact the game. There's no way around this. Basketball's not the same when somebody can do these things.
Exactly.
And that's crazy. I wish him the best. More than anything, I want him to remain healthy so that he has the best chance to be the best player he can be.
That's what you can hope for, because we want to see it, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, man. Now they are up on the Mavericks right now, and just whatever 7 points or so, and but high scoring 43 points in the first quarter for the Spurs.
Oh, wow.
And that's the thing with the Mavericks, man. They're going to struggle defensively all year, especially with Luka and Kyrie being your backcourt.
Do they have one credible defender on the whole roster?
On the whole roster, yeah.
Who?
Yeah. They got the Green guy, Josh Green.
Oh, okay.
He's the two guard who can defend. But I mean, they don't have a ton. No.
I mean, if you look, man, 1 to 12, just rate people as defensive players. The Mavs have to probably be in the absolute bottom of the league.
Yeah, because Max Kleber is a stretch 5. Derrick Jones Jr., you always wanted more from him. I mean,
you still do.
he can block shots on like sort of the KD role with Golden State on a lesser degree than that. He can roam and help defense block shots, but he's not a defender.
Yeah.
And Grant Williams, I guess, is the best defender in the starting 5. He's the only defender in the starting 5.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's not stopping anybody, but he's pretty stout defensively.
Yeah.
But that's not going to cut it in the NBA. One defender on the court at all times. You're going to be bottom defensively, and that's going to put so much pressure on Luka and Kyrie, who are having okay games, but they're going to need to have some Look, the Spurs are supposed to be the bottom team of the league this year. They're supposed to not even make the play-in in the Western Conference because the Western Conference is so stacked.
Yeah.
They're not even supposed to make the play-in. And you're struggling with the Spurs are scoring 43.
Yeah.
What is Phoenix and Denver going to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. 60?
No, that's
and then outside of that, the game we were monitoring earlier, Brooklyn lost by 1. So Cleveland beat Brooklyn by 1 point. And then the Raptors beat the Timbs. Who cares?
Thunder. The Timberwolves?
The Timberwolves. The Toronto Raptors beat the Timberwolves.
Oh, that's my guy, Ant Edwards, man. I care.
Ant had 26 and 14.
Okay. Did his part. What about your boy Cat?
Cat had 19 and 10.
Okay.
But he shot bad. Shot 2 for 10 for 3. The greatest big man shooting
to ever live. Greatest shooting big man ever.
You're gonna need to do a little better than that, Cat. If
2
that's
for 10 ain't getting it done.
If that's what you want to label yourself as, we're gonna need more from you in that area.
I hate so much that he won the 3-point contest. Oh, that annoys me, man. I'm not a fan of his, and the fact that he was able to back that up. Oh,
LaMelo Ball is back, 15 and 10 assists. And they beat the Atlanta Hawks.
LaMelo's interesting. Like, it felt like he fell off the radar, but I was watching kind of a highlight reel of him. And I mean, he does some amazing stuff
with the ball. Yeah.
You hope that for the good of basketball that he gets in a situation where he's with a team that can win some games. And you don't want an intriguing player to toil their whole career on bad teams.
Of course not.
But he's in on the that's the direction things are going for him, and you hope that gets reversed at some level.
We've never seen a NBA a star or whatever reject that first contract off the rookie deal. And
really?
And go to a different team. Never seen it. They always, 100% of the time, re-up. But it'd be interesting to see if LaMelo.
If he would do that.
Yeah, LaMelo. Remember, they thought Zion wanted to do that to get to New York, but he didn't. He signed his. So.
Here's another. This is an interesting thing. And I don't know. The Ball family started making money kind of before LaMelo even got in the league. I don't know how good that money is.
Yeah.
Or how legit that money is. They might have, at the end of the day, they might have lost a bunch of money with the shoe thing, but I don't know. But if they did amass some significant wealth through the Facebook show and the whatever merchandise or whatever, I mean, that could potentially influence his decision making about team. He might be, the rare guy who's no, I might take a little less to do that, And that's why I have increased respect for my second favorite athlete in the world right now, Jude Bellingham. He's 20 years old. He plays for Real Madrid, and when he talks, it's like listening to a 40-year-old statesman. It's unbelievable. But like, literally, he signed for Real Madrid, and he's at his opening press conference in a suit, and he's like, I always make decisions based on football. I don't ever make a decision and never will make a decision based on money. He cemented himself as my guy.
Yeah.
He's just like,
Exactly.
because he knows the truth of it. If you're great at a big club, the money's going to find you.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing, you know. If you're great on a championship team, you ain't going to be broke.
At all.
You know, and that's the thing. Like, even if whatever, the contract's a little less than it might be in another place. You know, we all have all these people that want to bet on themselves, but they don't really.
Yeah.
Not when it counts.
Never. It looks like the Pelicans are going to beat Memphis. Zion, first game, 23-7 right now. Now for 16. Pretty good game.
Expected more on the glass, to be honest.
Yeah. Of course, let's see here. We also got I thought was interesting. You know who I like a lot? I like Halliburton, Tyrese Halliburton.
Tyrese? He's a woman now?
Tyrese, however you want to pronounce his name.
I liked him like on podcasts. I also liked him on Team USA. So I understand where you're coming from.
He had 20 and 11 tonight. They beat a bad team, the Wizards. They're going to be one of the worst teams in the league. But you know who had a sighting today? Bruce Brown, who came over from the Nuggets to chase a contract, higher contract, left the championship team, got a championship and left. But I mean, he showed up tonight. He was the highest scoring on the team. He had 24, was 8 for 11. He had a really good game. And I think
he was a starter though?
Yeah, he starts. Looks like he's
could we take the alternative view here that he didn't just chase a check, that he chased a bigger role?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that could have been a bigger thing for him as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's definitely gonna be he's probably the best scorer on the team as far as on that wing perspective.
Yeah.
Because especially now they have Hill coming off the bench, they kind of replaced Brown with Hill. And the thing is, Hill is one of the best shooters in the league. Brown can hit the three, like he went 5 for 8 tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, he went 6 for 8 tonight. Damn. But he also plays. He's a good perimeter defender. He's a really good perimeter defender.
Right.
Buddy Hill's a minus perimeter defender. So they're going to improve just by that. And then they have Buddy just coming off in spot duty, shooting threes and doing his thing. That can work, man. I mean, they're a player or two away, but they can get the play in with this roster.
I do kind of feel like the Indiana.
They can make the playoffs. Really.
I was going to say Indiana's maybe a team to watch to get to like a playoff level. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to contend for anything, but like for them, I mean, they do have some nice players, a couple guys we all like, and why can't they make the playoffs? That's got to be the objective.
I was watching this Orlando Magic podcast, and Indiana was one of the teams that the guy just automatically dismissed. Yeah, man, no, we've been way better than Indiana. That's why I think we're going to make playoffs. I like this roster better. I mean, you have Halliburton, that he's a real point guard, an NBA top 10, whatever, however you want to say point guard.
Yeah.
Whatever you say about Miles Turner, first of all, there aren't many real centers in the league anyhow. Yeah. But he has a defined skill. He blocks shots and shoot threes.
Yeah.
And he does both of those things well for a big man. You know what I mean? And he's gonna get you some rebounds as well. And then, like you say, Bruce comes over. Now he's a solidified 3-and-D player. Buddy coming off the bench, who automatically boosts your bench because you didn't have anybody reserve duty last year. And then
who's the rest of the guys who get a lot of minutes?
Obi Toppin is starting. Yeah. He played pretty. He played okay tonight. He had 11 and 4. Stayed out the way. He shot 4 for 9, 2 for 5 from 3.
Yeah.
I guess they got him in the off season from New York. So that's
I mean, he's not a guy that's done a whole lot in the league, but he is a long, athletic guy.
Yeah.
He does have a little bit of ability to shoot from the outside. He's not a guy that can't shoot at all.
Are you a T.J. McConnell guy? I just haven't paid attention to him.
No, I mean, for what he is, I mean,
he's an NBA. I
don't want to overstate this, but he's a pros pro for sure, and he's probably, because he's a pros pro, he's probably one of the better backup point guards essentially that you have in the league. Like, what he's going to deliver. He reminds me, maybe you could make an argument he's a better player, but like a little bit of like DJ Augustin. Whereas they just don't make mistakes.
Yeah,
they always kind of do the right thing, and they're just not like super talented guys that can influence games night in and night out, but like you could do a lot worse than having a guy that never makes a mistake and is always in the right place.
Yeah, I was looking through these. I wanted to see somebody with like just something crazy, like opening night, just a 40, 50 piece. The Kings are destroying Utah. Harrison Barnes is having a crazy night for Harrison Barnes. He's 10 for 11 so far, 5 for 5 from 3 with 28 points. He can do that.
The Black Falcon.
Yeah. And that's
one of the great.
He's going for 40 or 50.
That's one of the great nicknames.
Night Falcon.
Just like,
yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. He's a guy that's he's on that similar contract thing as Tobias, and in a lot of ways they're similar players and similar level of players.
Yeah.
But and my thing with Tobias, he never has these type of performances where Harrison will every once in a while.
Every once in a while.
Like, give me, you're getting $185 billion. Like, give me 30 every once in a blue moon. Can you?
Let me just remind me you're capable of doing that.
And look at Harrison getting his out of the way first game of the season. And may go another 20 games before.
I'm good till Christmas. See you guys in January with another big game.
Maybe Valentine's before we see him again. But hey, getting it out the way early.
But that's what like you have Sabonis and you have Fox, and then you have these other dudes, whether it's Keegan Murray, whether it's Monk or Barnes. Like they
could be there.
Any one of those guys could have a night.
Yeah,
you know.
Have a night.
And ideally, they each do a little bit of enough to be good. So.
And to your point, Sabonis and Fox are right up to par. They're just having good nights for Sabonis and Fox.
Yeah.
And then if one of those
the way they operate, like everything is kind of through those two guys.
Anyhow, yeah.
And so they're like they can have a bad night, but like their usage, their involvement in the game is going to be consistent. And then it's like, okay, who feeds off that trough?
And what's funny is Murray, Herter, and Monk all having bad games. But we know how the NBA works. They're going to have a night. This has happened to be Barnes' night,
right.
and that's all you need is at least one of those guys that get on the ride.
But you also got to like think about the way a game unfolds when you have like Fox and Sabonis, like 90% of everything you do is running through them, and then one of those guys tonight, Barnes gets the hot hand. Like as you're playing, everybody just kind of starts looking for Barnes.
Yeah.
And so that's why those other guys are maybe not going to have big nights.
No, that's true.
Even if they're shooting sports, probably because they're not getting steady. Look, I got to look in the first quarter. I got another look late in the second. I had two at the beginning of the third. Like it's just not like where you're in that place where the game becomes comfortable.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But again, like literally the next game, it could be one of those other 2-3 guys, and they're having 4 or 5 threes for the night. And what have you.
The last thing I'll say we'll end the show is, we play Milwaukee Thursday. Milwaukee, the new revamped team with Dame and all those guys. If it's true, they said we sent James Harden home, I'll probably be more excited about this season than I have the last probably 2 or 3.
There you go.
I was, before I was totally out on Ben, I was excited about that season about 3 years ago. You know what I mean? And this season I would be. Not excited like we're going to win a championship excited, but just excited because it'd be a normal team. A
team you can like.
A team I can like. I think that's what it is.
That's the thing.
A team I can like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially if we just send Harden. I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought that Harden was just – because Harden has to show up or he doesn't get paid. And also on top of that, as we already talked about on the show, we can hold him back from playing next year. That's why he has to show.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, so when he shows up, whenever he's not going to practice, then he's just going to show up a day before the game and say, hey, I'm here. And I thought they were just going to let him play in the lineup and let him come and go as he pleases.
Right.
But knowing that they have the balls to say, and it's probably the coach, right? They say, because they say he's a no-nonsense guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of Toronto guys kind of, some of them, he kind of wore thin on them towards the end. He to know that he's saying, hey, go home, we're all right. Come to practice, man.
Yeah.
I that's a team I could like.
Liking a team is important.
It is, man.
Like because it's again, you could go through cycles. It's like that's your team, but like
didn't
when I
like
step
last year's
back,
team,
I don't
man.
really like this
I didn't
team.
like
Like,
last
you know,
year's
I don't like how they play. I don't like what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like when you have a team that you like, that was the recipe for like way back in the day with Doc and the Heart and Hustle Magic.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
nobody said they're
dislike
great,
Yeah.
but they just were night in and night out a likable team. They
Yeah.
competed.
Daryl Armstrong them?
Daryl Armstrong was there.
Yeah.
Ben Wallace. and,
Yeah.
You know, that's part of it.
All right, then. We'll be back next week.